Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this is... I don't have a game box to show you, I do apologize, but I do have the unformatted rules. I love... I get a lot of really cool prototypes for really cool games, and this is definitely one of them. And this is a game that I've had a heck of a lot of fun with playing. But I sometimes I have to giggle when I don't have a box to show you. So, there you go. So anyway, yeah, this is Dark Rituals Malleus Maleficarum. And this is a scenario tactical game, and well, there's some strategy too. I mean, we can debate what tactics and strategy is all day long, but this is a classic dudes and dudettes on a map type game. This is a game that is going to be a one against many. One person is going to take on the role of being in charge of the witch. The coven, if you will. You are you control these witches that they're going to cast evil spells. They're going to summon evil creatures. They're going to have these horrible evil dark legions of minions that they're going to work for them. And they're going to, depending upon the scenario that's put forward, they're going to have some evil intent that they're going to have. Trying to stop them will be a band of stalwart heroes. Well, this is definitely, like, I shouldn't say stalwart heroes. I would say a band of mercenaries and like corrupted and dark-hearted, grim-dark mercenaries, I guess. I don't know, but they basically like the last stand for humanity against the impending doom. But they've put themselves. They even though their cause may be hopeless, they're rebelling against the evil kind of thing. But regardless, it is a thing where you're going to have one person that's going to play the bad guys, and then you're going to have 1 to 4 people that are going to play the good guys. And it is a game that definitely I don't know how many. I've been doing this stuff now for over a decade. And I don't know how many times I've played games like this, but I just don't know how. But designers seem to come up with new and cool themes, new and cool ways to play the games, new and cool mechanisms and things like that that keep me coming back to the table and playing them out. So that being all said, I'm gonna take you to like a scenario for Dark Rituals, and I'm gonna just kind of give you an overview of how the game is played. I'm not gonna play out the scenario. I'm just gonna kind of show you how the game works and how you actually go through the process of writing a. In my mind, it's like this is definitely one of those games that, like, when you play it, you can kind of see the stuff happen in your head. I don't know if you've ever done that, but like, definitely with thematic games, it just seems to happen. Like, you just seem to, like, when something epic and brutal happens in the game, or heroic or nefarious, you can see the movie play out in your mind, and I really enjoy that when it comes to stuff like this. But let me show you how the game is played, and then we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. Alright, cool. Alright, this is Dark Rituals. I'm going to show you kind of the basics of how to play the game. There are a lot of different actions and things that you can do, and the game is going to be different each time you play due to the fact that, as I said, it is a scenario or encounter-based game. You are very able to play a series of adventures, so to speak, that can be tied together, or if you just want to do like a quick little one-off, you can also do that as well. Now, there's a couple of things. One, this is a prototype that I was sent. Obviously, the dice and things like that aren't going to look like what you're going to get when the game is published and sent to you. I do have some actual excellent miniatures that they gave me, so I'm just going to give you a close-up of one here, just for example. These, I believe they're going to be very, very close to what you're going to see when you get the game yourself, but just keep in mind that, obviously, the paper counters and stuff like that are not indicative of what the final design is going to be. Now, this particular encounter here is a pretty straightforward one. We have 2 witches that are going to be controlled by the Witchmaster. They are located here and here. Their goal and their minions' goal is to kill these farmers that are in these locations here, and they're kind of hiding and they're huddled up in their little huts. The heroes, of which there are 4, and they are located here, 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 and here. Their job is to kill both the witches, and like the minions obviously can be killed as well. And the players want to kill the minions because every time you kill a minion, you do get to kind of level up and increase your powers and abilities. But the only way they can win is if they are able to kill both the witches, so I'll get to that in just a little bit. But the witch player has to kill 4 farmers, and if they can do that, then they've won this particular scenario. All right, I just want to go over a couple of things that you're seeing in front of you. I'm going to start with the witch side of things, then I'm going to move over to like the hero side of things. When you're playing the Witchmaster, you will have lots of different creatures. Like here is this thing called like a mortis, and each of these cards, they have a really cool picture. They give you like their health that's over here, and then they give you all this information, like if you want to move, and like it has their abilities like moving, fighting, and their defense. And so each of these has this little symbol like this, and you're going to see that symbol a lot in this game. That's the stamina cost to take different actions. So like to move the mortis, and movement is kind of cool. I'll talk a little bit more about it in a little bit, but movement is just the cost to move one space. There's no like movement attribute or anything like that. Sometimes you like the hero player will have a hero in a spot where there is a monster and they're going to be able to move them out of there. They need to basically have an evade ability to get out of that spot. Basically their attribute, their like move attribute, like you see this, and the heroes will have that as well. Their move attribute has to be like equal to or greater to than the monster that they're trying to evade. And if they can do that, they can move out of the spot. But basically, regardless of who you spend the stamina, you get to move one spot. If you want to make an attack, you spend the stamina and you're able to make this attack, and it tells you, what dice you're going to roll, what color dice you roll for it. If you want to have an active defense, it tells you how much stamina you have to spend for an active defense. Then it means you get to roll that. I'm going to talk more in depth about combat, but you do still get a defense because you're going to have like a defensive stat that's over here that's going to be just a value of 4. So I mean, if you don't have to have an active defense if you want. It's kind of an interesting thing about the defender. They kind of get a little bit of an advantage there. But so then you have this thing, when you attack, exhaust an extra to add 1 to your range. So like they can attack at range if they want to, as the mortis. So, and there's a card for each of those. There's also cards for like creatures that are like summonable, and like as the witch character, you're going to get access to different like spells and things that are going to allow you to summon creatures as the game goes on. But also, you're going to have, as the witch player, you're going to have these big placards that are going to tell you exactly the powers of the different witches that you have. So like here's Hagatha and Pekka, and so they're going to have just the exact same thing. They're going to have attack abilities and defensive abilities, the number of dice, how much health they have. Also, they're going to have different skills and abilities. The big skill here is like this one right here, because like that is to save a burning witch. Witches, when they lose all their health, they're considered to be set on fire, and they can't do anything until they are saved. But if somebody can go over there and save them, then they can continue on. But I mean, a lot of the other abilities, and we'll talk about these abilities when we get to them, but a lot of those abilities are just, once again, have those stamina costs on them for when they take their actions. Alright, so also, as the witch player, you're going to have there's going to be like a little grimoire of abilities that will be activated when you're in combat, and I'll talk about these when we get to combat. There's also these 3 very important boards. Well, I mean, and I think when this game gets published, I think this will just be one board. But there are 3. One is a soul track. Every single time that you are able to like do something that is specific to the game. In this case, it's like killing off either a farmer or a hero. And heroes don't necessarily die. Heroes get placed on their side. They're stunned, and then the next turn you can revive them, and then they can carry on normally. It is important to note that if there's ever a situation where all of the heroes are stunned at the same time, the witch player automatically wins. But anyway, so as you succeed things, you're going to be placing these tokens around the board like so to show your success rate. Now, you might have noticed that there's these two discs here, here and here. Those are plague tokens, and I guess technically I should be putting these soul tokens on these spots. I just grabbed those cubes just because they're handy. Those are actually my stamina cubes that I'm going to be able to spend that are going to go into this well here. But I'm once again getting ahead of myself. But anyway, so when you get to these plague tokens, what happens is that you get to draw a plague card, which are these super powerful abilities. And I might as well just grab those right now. You get this deck that has these plagues, and when you get a plague, you get to show that. And much like anything else, like here's a plague that says, let's see, plague, visions of your death sap your will or sap your resolve. So if I want to spend 5 stamina, I can spread the plague, and then it's going to reduce like each player's body by 2. The stamina provided by their body attribute by 2. Plagues are huge because they permanently debilitate the heroes. They can get rid of it, like if the witch that casts the plague, because you place this card on the witch when it happens to show that, like, you know, in this case, like Hagatha had cast that plague. If you manage to kill Hagatha, then the plague would be lifted. But plagues are huge because they actually like harm the players in a permanent fashion because of the fact that they're actually going to take stamina away from them. You might have noticed that this hero over here has a big pile of stamina, and that's like basically their life that allows them to do the different actions, do the different things you're going to want them to do on their turn. This is how much the evil track as well. As this increases, things go better and better for the witch player, and each time you succeed, depending upon the encounter, each encounter is going to tell you something differently as far as what you need to do. But like this one, if you kill a hero or a farmer, you're going to move up on that track. Also, like you notice that these 4 things, these are usually used to denote some sort of aspect of the game where it's a victory condition. In this case, it's killing 4 farmers. So each time, like the witch player would kill a farmer, you would cover up one of those. And if you manage to cover up all 4, that means that you've won. As I said, this is where you're going to be putting when you use up your stamina for different actions, you place it over into this well here. Once the turn is done, normally you're going to return all your stamina back into your pool, and then the next turn you'll be able to use it again. Witch player is played a little bit differently because the fact they just have one big stamina pool that activates all of their creatures and their witches, whereas the Crusaders, they're going to have 4 different heroes, and they're each going to have their own individual stamina that's going to be depleted as the game continues. So, as I said, this is like a one witch player, one versus many. I mean, you can play 2 player, and 1 player controls all 4 heroes, but I think this game really shines when you have each player controlling each hero, and then being able to kind of talk to each other and determine what you think is the best plan of action as far as things to do on a particular turn. Alright, so that's the witch player, and there's a lot more to it, and I'm definitely going to talk more about that here in just a little bit. But let me just talk a little bit about the hero side of things. So the hero side of things is going to work very much the same. Each hero board is going to have different statistics. They're going to have different powers and different abilities. Like this is the Crusader. Here, let me just actually take this stuff off of it so I can actually show it to you. Each hero is going to get a weapon, and like basically their weapon card that's going to denote exactly what they have. In this case, like they have a melee attack that has for 3 stamina, and they get to roll those dice for the attack. And this is their defense that's down there. If they spend 2, they get to roll 2 green dice, and so then that just goes along with it. And then you have the Crusader. So you have, this is how much stamina they have. So they have 5 plus 2 plus 2. And so they're going to have a total of 9. Now, if those get decreased because of plagues, you're going to lose your stamina from that. And then there's all the different actions you can take, movement and picking things up and searching for things and reviving and so on and so forth, or trading an item between two different people. And also something that denotes your health and your starting statistics over there, 2211. Now, as those increase, because every time you manage to kill somebody from the Dark Legion, you get to increase something, then they're going to have different effects. The only thing that you can increase from killing things is your alchemy stat. Now, alchemy is a really cool ability, and this is one of the things that I thought was super cool about this. Each time you successfully use an alchemy skill, you're going to raise your alchemy by 1. And also, I should mention that this is your track for that. So, like, the same stats there as over here, and then those are the starting values, and you just move those up as you level up your character. So each class has its own alchemy, different things you can do. And you can see over here, it's like level 1 alchemy can do these 3 things. So you can see there's a 111, and see that's a level 2 alchemy. You turn it over to the other side, you can see there's level 2, 3, all the way up to level 4. So at the beginning, it's like if you have these components, and I'll show you what the components are here in just a moment. When a witch's combat spell would affect you, ignore the effect. And if you have those two components, kind of like you're mixing reagents, which I think is kind of cool, you can do that. When you attack, use strength +1 if you have that. When you attack, use target's resistance -1. So there's all these different things that you can do on your turn. So you might be saying, well, how do you get those reagents? Well, you might notice there's all these little plant spots all over the board there. And if you're in those spots and you use a pickup action, you take that token off the board, and then there is this deck of reagents. Now, the witch player can't pick these up. They are basically unavailable for them. And these are going to be the different reagents that you need, for your different abilities to create things. Now, these obviously, after you collect them, if somebody says, hey, I could really use that dragon worm, so I can use this, these are things that you could trade back and forth. There's also, since I'm talking about stuff that you can actually pick up, there's spots where you'll see there's these little treasure chests. And this is just obviously this encounter. So just different encounters or scenarios are going to maybe run a little bit differently. Those are different locations where you are allowed to loot or search for that treasure. And when you take that action, you automatically succeed. And then there is a deck of these artifacts that you can collect. Some of these artifacts will be just things like this vampire's fang. And I should mention, you'll notice that there's this weight thing up there. Just keep that in mind. I'll explain that in a moment. And these are different things. It's like when you wound a target, you may heal a damage. And it's just so the thing is, but you have to have the stats on the bottom. You have to have both of these stats. You have to have a 3 alchemy and a 2 defense in order to be able to wield or equip that particular thing. Sometimes they'll just be an improvement to something that your weapons. So here it's when you wound a target, your attack gains 1 damage. It's called Death's Head, but look, you need a 3 attack and a 3 alchemy to have the monstrous shrunken head. And notice it's got a weight up there of 4. But those are obviously very powerful and very useful. And if you can manage to get artifacts, it's only going to assist you in attempting to win this scenario. Now, I should have, showed this to you. I do apologize. There is a stat on each character. The Crusader, the stat here is 10. That means they can carry a total of 10 weight of items that they can do. Equipping things is just once your character's active, you can just equip things. It doesn't take anything to do that. You just say, hey, I'm gonna, put this artifact or I'm gonna upgrade my weapon with this, that sort of thing. It doesn't cost anything extra to do those things. All right, so that's kind of less than a brief overview was what I was trying for. But regardless, and I'm probably going to miss a rule or two here, just so you know, just because there is a lot going on. This is a very tactical game. So I do invite you to go to the website of the creators or go to the Kickstarter page and read the rules if you want to dive a little deeper into what's going on. But the game itself goes in a very, very quick fashion of a you go, I go type of situation. But the difference is that it all comes down to stamina. When a person goes, when the player playing the Crusader goes, they aren't just going to do everything that they possibly can do with all of their stamina when they go. What they're going to do is they're going to activate their character. They're going to do 1 or 2 actions, and you can repeat the same action more than once. They're going to do 1 or 2 actions, and they're going to spend the stamina to do that, and then they're going to be done. And then the witch player is going to go. And the witch player is going to take 1 or 2 actions, and then the players, the heroes are going to go, and then somebody else is going to activate. And the Crusader could activate again. That's for the players to decide, to discuss who's going to go. The big thing is that as you use up your stamina, you're going to have less and less options available to you for like who's going to go and what actions they're going to take. And that's where kind of like this tactical kind of like, maybe you start off kind of passive at the beginning of the game, trying to see what the other players are going to do, where they're going to go, what they're going to try to accomplish, and then you move forward with, you know, like your decisions and your actions as far as those are concerned. I like it because of the fact that obviously like you might think that the witch player has the advantage due to the fact that they have like just this pool that they can use, and I think it maybe is a little more simple, but I think like the players have much more versatility, and the fact that they can kind of like set up a really good plan along the way to take different actions. Now, when you start up the turn, I should have done one other thing. The witch player will have starts with 3 witchcraft cards, and so like here, like they have like this is a Tree of Despair, like this is a summoning obviously, and then they can take the action of spending 4 stamina to summon a Tree of Despair to any of these summoning locations where the summoning locations are. And if witch characters are in those summoning locations, they actually gain extra power. So it's always kind of nice if you can get your witch into those. You know, they're a little more defended. Plus, there might be like different spells that you'll have. Like here we have jump. So you spend in a witch that's on a summoning can go to another summoning circle, or here's like a portal, burst of flames around a hero. So you like actually would teleport a hero from one to another, and then that hero would actually take damage from being teleported. So now, if you ever end up with witchcraft spells that you don't want to use, where you don't think they're valuable, at the beginning of a turn, after all the stamina has been spent, and mind you, you don't have to spend all your stamina. You can pass at some point, and then just you not do anything. But once everybody's passed and you're ready to go on to the next turn, what will happen is that not only will all of your stamina, except for the stamina that's been locked, stamina can get locked like from plagues, those such of things, but you remove all your stamina from its exhausted nature back into available, and also the person playing the witch can discard any of the witchcraft cards they have and draw back up to 3. And if they've used any, obviously you're going to draw back up to 3 as well. So just keep that in mind. Personally, I think, even though I think the witch player is just fun to play, and I think having access to spells and stuff, I really dig that. All right, so let me actually talk about combat, because I wanted to actually make sure I highlight this. So combat occurs either when there is let's just take the guy that's condemned here, and let's grab the Crusader, who is right here. So these guys are in the same spot, and now if I was the witch player, I could activate my condemned to attack the Crusader who's in that spot. Or if the Crusader was going, they could activate the Crusader and attack in that same spot. Now, some players are going to have ranged attacks. You might notice here, if I can, of course, snag them and find them, like there's an assassin character, and the assassin actually has like a crossbow and can attack at range here. Actually, and this is a pretty cool figure. I just want to show you that one real quick too. So like here, you can see big old giant crossbow ready to shoot stakes into people's hearts. So when you have a ranged attack, it has like a range of 1, and you can attack into an area next to it. Range attacks cannot be used, however, against something in the same spot as they are. So just keep that in mind. Like sometimes, like you're gonna want to like keep your distance if you're a ranged character. when you're in a situation where there's a combat, then what happens is like the condemned, like let's say the Crusader is attacking the condemned. And I should mention that normally, unless it gets altered by like some sort of ability, normally the damage is always going to be just 1 point of damage. Now that can be altered through abilities and effects and things like that, but it's always going to be 1. And so if we look at the Crusader and we activate his attack, remember we're going to go ahead and look at this. And we're going to see he activates his attack for 3 stamina. So if we did that, we would, and this is beginning of the turn, we take this 3 stamina, we put it into the exhausted spot there, and then we're going to roll a blue and 2 yellow. Now here's where the thing is. Now normally, like when you have these things, multiple attacks going, like you have these situations where it's like, okay, you're going to attack, and then we're all going to roll our dice at the same time. But no, actually, this is where the defender kind of has something good. So we're going to take this, and we're going to take these 2 yellows, and we're going to roll these. And we're just going to see what we get. And then we only got 2 successes. So now here's where it's interesting. So if we look at the condemned, and we can see that the condemned has like a passive defense that allows them to defeat that. So you look at the condemned, they have a very good passive defense where, they have a 4. They're going to just say, well, I'm not going to bother spending stamina right here to activate my active defense and like roll 2 green dice and then add that to my defense that I already have, because of the fact that I don't have to, because your attack failed. Now, there's going to be some times when a player is going to be able to re-roll some dice or re-roll others. Let's just re-roll. Let's say they have the re-roll. So this way, so they get 5. So now we have a situation where, like, they got a total of 5 pips. So it's going to defeat their defense. So now, like, the witch is going to say, well, I guess I better spend that 2 stamina, and I better exhaust that. I'm going to roll these 2, and I'm going to hope that I get some successes here, and I got one. So there, it's like, so you can hope to like, keep those things alive. But those are like some of the decisions, because obviously like you don't want the condemned to get taken down because of the fact that if he does, it's considered defeating something in the Dark Legion, and then the Crusader is going to be able to level something up on his particular character. Now, cool thing about when you're fighting witches, and this is when the witch gets, let's just move, no, that's a Mortis. Let's move, yeah, here we go. This is Hagatha. And let's just show you with like the Hagatha miniature, just because I like showing off miniatures real quick. So you can see they got this big giant like blob of a witch. You can see her faces right there. And, super cool. I mean, these minis are awesome. I really like them. If I thought I was a good enough painter, I would probably try to paint these. Now, if I should mention that like you are able to like aid people and things like that if you're in the same spot. So it is a cooperative experience as far as with the players, the heroes working together to do certain things. But anyway, so Hagatha, let's say Hagatha attacks. Now here's the cool thing about like with the attacks. So you'll notice that it says we have a blue and we have 2 yellows that we're going to roll. But then we have these things where it says revitalize, pierce, and fireball. And they have a 5, 6, and 7. And you notice that they have them here, like for the defense, it's like you're gonna roll a pink or a red, and you're gonna roll 2 greens, and then it has like meat shield and drain. So it's like, well, what are those? So those are these super cool situations where like you're gonna look at your grimoire and you're gonna look and see like those things like meat shield, gain 1 shield or gain 1 resistance for each minion in your area. So like they gain for that. And then if you look over here, it's like with fireball, all heroes in your take a damage just because it improves, or pierce, your attack ignores 1 resistance. So like it when you roll these things, you're going to be able to, if you get high enough, you're going to activate those certain things. So let's just see if we got lucky. So let's say she's attacking the Crusader, and we're going to go ahead and roll our blue and our 2 yellows and just see what we get here. And see if I get lucky. Well, I only got a 4, so I didn't get it. But that's, I mean, you are able to like upgrade things and get better rolls and things like that. But you know, if I cheated and said, let's say I rolled like a 5, and it just, so then you'd see like a 5 is revitalized, and it would recover 1 stamina. So not only do the witches, when they make attacks or defenses, if they just work as normal, but they also get to activate certain things that like may, and there's results like on defense where you're actually gonna like hurt the person that's attacking you. Like in here, let's see here. So like here we have like here, this is P.E.K.K.A. And P.E.K.K.A. has Possess and Fumble. And so, like, if they roll high enough, like Possess, I love Possess. Basically, it says you choose another hero in your area who becomes the target of the attack. So, like, you possess that other, like, you possess the person that's attacking you, and you've convinced them to attack the other hero in this spot. And so, like, you can really mess with those things. And then Fumble, it's like the attack against you fails, and the attacker takes 1 damage. So, you know, so there's cool things like that happen. But, alright, so, like, as far as, like, the different actions that you can take, they are really straightforward. Like I said, you spend stamina to move, you spend stamina to attack, you spend stamina to search, you spend stamina to pick things up. You know, and like depending upon the scenario, there might be special actions that are going to be dependent upon that. It will be like spend stamina to, like, you know, consecrate this ground and things like that. But those will be completely story driven about that, and they do flow very well into the aspect of the game. So that is Dark Rituals. I mean, I didn't go like turn by turn with you. I just wanted to give you like an overview of how the game is played, because it is, like I said, a very, very tactical game with a lot of different rules and a lot of different things going on. But the best part about it, in my mind, is that each of the heroes feels like their own unique entity. They feel like they have their you know, the things they're really good at and the things they're not so good at, but nobody's like completely worthless in certain situations. And they all feel like, you know, this is a very grim, dark world, and they all feel, you kind of feel this like imminent doom when you play the game, when you're playing the hero side. Now, when you play the bad guys, when you're playing as part of the witches, you definitely feel like you're like this malevolent force of like just this twisted like destruction that's come to claim the world and rip it apart. And it's something that I really dug as well. And I think, like, beyond just the fun tactics and decisions that you're going to make and the really, really fun you go, I go stamina thing going on, it's the story, I think, that's going to make me want to play this game over and over again, to play out that campaign and kind of write the movie that is this game as it played. But let me talk all about that and more in my final thoughts. Sorry, this giant, thick pages of rules aren't going to be coming flying out of the ceiling this time. So, for those of you who are expecting that, I do apologize. Alright, so it's obvious, like I've said, these types of games that I really, really enjoy. Dudes and dudettes on a map with monsters and what have you. I dig them. Ever since I played the first, I think the first time I ever played the whole, like, one evil person and then against many, I think probably first edition Descent. A game that I still play. I really I've enjoyed the whole one against many, and I enjoy both sides. I probably enjoy being the one evil person more than the many, but I still find it to be very fun and very interesting. I like the stories that they tell. I like the fact that, like, there are moments in games like this that my gaming group and I still talk about years after that happened. You know, we still talk about like, you know, the stuff that happened in Descent in the first time we played it many, many years ago. I mean, probably a decade ago at this point, or a little less, but regardless, I mean, and I like the experience that creates, and this was something that my gaming group and I really, really liked. And I got my buddy Derek, who, if you watch my videos, you know Derek is my go-to 1 versus 1 guy, and he came over on a couple of his days off, and we just really hammered away at this game and had a great deal of fun. I let him play the evil person because that's what he wanted to do, but it was highly enjoyable. Now, this is one of those things where there are two things for me that really, really stood out for me. I've already touched on the whole stamina. Like, I'm going to activate this person, and I'm going to take 1 or 2 actions with them. Maybe I'm not going to burn up a lot of stamina with this thing. There's a couple things. There's couple things I want to say. There are certain actions that you can take that don't take up any stamina, and you can definitely do that. You can activate, like, I'm going to activate this hero, and I'm going to take these actions that don't actually spend stamina, but that's still taking one of your actions. That's a completely viable thing to do, and you can save your stamina for later, and it also can kind of, like, push the witch player to be, like, have to take different actions that would be, like, maybe they'd spend up their stamina quicker, and then you're going to end up with a lot of actions after the fact. So that's something that's really cool. Sometimes you will pass with, like, lots of stamina left over because you know that you're going to get attacked and you want to leave that stamina available to defend yourself with. But you can't take actions that cost 0 stamina if you don't have any stamina at all. So just keep that in mind when you're playing. It's kind of a little loophole that you gotta basically focus on. The other thing was with when you're playing the witch, or when you're playing the witch master or what have you. I have found that it's one of those things where the amount of stamina you have is determined by the encounter itself. I think that you need to take that into account to, like, kind of model how your actions are going to be in that particular venue, or that particular turn, if you will, or a scenario. Because they've gone to great lengths of waiting these different scenarios out. And like, just as far as, like, so if you got a ton of stamina, they're kind of expecting you're going to be doing lots and lots and lots of actions. But when you have less, you kind of have to, like, sit back and just kind of let the game happen and kind of react to what you have. So just a little, I don't know, little bird's eye view, a little critique, or a little hint for when you play the game yourself. But anyway, regardless, I really like the you go I go aspect as far as, like, the different stamina and the costs and spending those things. The other thing, as I said, I really liked. I really liked the herbology of it, like the collecting the different plants and then using those to each person for their different alchemical lore. It kind of felt a little bit like if you played, like, the Witcher series, like, as far as that video game, like how you would collect the different like samples of herbs and things like that, and then you would use those to activate different powers within yourself. And I thought that was kind of unique and interesting and a lot of fun. And it was definitely one of those things where, like, I like the fact that trading stuff actually did cost the person who initiated the trade stamina to do so. Otherwise, you just have all the heroes kind of grouping together and just handing stuff back and forth and changing it out. And but I did like the fact that it was like, oh, if I give you this stuff, you'd be able to just use it, just so you could use alchemy on your particular turn, and then you could like raise your alchemy level, and so then you'd get access to higher level alchemy abilities and things like that. So there's just stuff like that. It just feels like they did a really good job with the world building with this one and creating a really cool game. Now, mechanically, the game's awesome. It's very quick. It's very fast. Yes, there will be some time where you're going to stop and you're going to think about what you want to do. But as far as, like, the actual process of activating the different mechanisms and taking the different actions, it is a very, very smooth game. This is my rule book is one-sided, so it looks huge and thick, and I know it's impending, but no, there's a lot of information in this, and this is of course, like, the unformatted rules. But so just keep in mind that, like, it feels like there's a lot to it, and there is a lot to it. But the stuff, they've gone to great lengths to make sure that, one, the game is very, very digestible as you play it, and it's almost intuitive. As far as, like, it's just like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, no wonder that's why that works that way, kind of thing. So the game moves along quickly. The action is fast and frenetic, and, like, you're always like, oh, I gotta go, and it's like, oh, which person's going to go this turn, and like can we have the witch go before, and if you're the witch player, it's like, oh, I sure hope they don't activate that person and move them over there because I really want to get to that spot. So there's that level of tension that I really like in the games like this. It's just, they've made a very, very unique setting and a very, very unique feel to a time-honored type of game that I've come to really, really love. Now, obviously, I know they've like blasted through the funding on this, and they're crushing their stretch goals, and they're making this game look absolutely beautiful. So if it's something you're looking for just for like, just the immersion factor of this one, it's going to be over the top as far as the production quality and what they're going to give you. And it's definitely going to be a game that once you put it down on your table and you set it up, I mean, it's going to be an eye catcher. And when you see all the miniatures and see everything that's going on, like, that movie is going to start playing in your head, as I said, that like, just makes these games fun to live out, to play, and to experience as you do. So it's got everything going for it. It's got a great theme. It's got a great look. It's got fantastic mechanisms. It has the perfect balance of strategy and tactics, and it also, for as much depth as the game has, it isn't that complex, right? So if you're a fan of these types of games, I strongly suggest that you dive into Dark Rituals, Malleus, Maleficarum, and see if it's going to fit your thematic, fun, evil versus good type need for your board game experience. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I know it was a bit of a long one, so thank you for getting through the slog. And until next time, just remember, just be the best possible version of you as you possibly can be. I guarantee you, the more love and happiness you project out into the universe, the more you are going to get back. So this is me telling you, take it easy, and you be awesome. Alright, later.